Hey everybody, it's Dick Vet, your friendly neighborhood veteran, and this is part 7 of the Warriors Reflection series. I would forget how to trust, and I would think that others were trying to hurt me. Warriors are trained for a war zone, but when years of training only lead to departing the military without any reprogramming, they treat civilian sector like the war zone that they prepared for. Because of course they would. That's how people work. This aspect is actually worse for non-deployed veterans because a combat vet gets the war out of their system a little bit. And although they may repeat their warrior behavior in civilian sector, that is secondary to the reality they face regarding their newly acquired demons from war. But a non-deployed veteran has been programmed to prepare for war through years of training and will now execute a lifestyle based on that programming. All veterans have been preparing for and training for a hostile environment. It doesn't matter how safe an area in America we come back to, we will perceive it as hostile, or we will create that hostile environment that we feel comfortable in. This is the belief structure regarding the world you live in. And there is a difference between what you want to believe and what you actually do believe. A veteran may want to see the beautiful majesty of this country our brothers and sisters died for. You may want to see the people around you as free Americans, just doing their best. You may want to just sit and appreciate all that was sacrificed for. But in truth, you never sit with your back to the door. Because you actually believe you're in a hostile environment. And you actually believe that the local nationals are just potential enemies. You were not trained to live the American dream. You were trained to sacrifice for it. One of my brothers said, "I'm only comfortable when I feel like I'm behind enemy lines." A veteran will subconsciously create a hostile environment. Psychology would diagnose this behavior as self-sabotage, but it's weirdly the opposite. The warrior is attempting to create the hostile environment they were trained for. The warrior is attempting to... My brothers and sisters live in the worst parts of town. In truth, they can afford a better area, but deep down, they are comfortable with gunfire at night. Like an abused child who learns that being hit is love. They don't consciously say that, they believe that, but they will subconsciously be around abusive people. That's why it's a shadow belief. The most common way to turn your environment hostile is to be in a relationship with a volatile person. Or, better yet, a raging personality disorder. Someone that threatens to leave all the time and is stirring up crazy drama is all it takes to feel like you're living in a war zone. And I've seen way too many of that in my brothers and sisters' lives. It's almost stereotypical how often we get in horrible relationships. One way or another, we will find a way. I know vets that listen to screaming death metal on headphones as they are falling asleep at night. Like a way of controlling nightmares through empowering them. I also see something commonly beyond anger outbursts. Whenever I taught anger management back in the counseling days, there was an additional layer beyond emotional control. Veterans also had an addiction to allowing themselves to blow up in anger, thus putting their stability at risk. But it was not an addiction to the anger outburst itself. It was an addiction to having a threat to their life. Like potential prison time or losing your job or a relationship or your living situation. Sometimes a vet had like an inability to pay their own bills, but it was because they got a sense of comfort in their utilities being shut off. It validated this shadow belief that they are in a hostile environment and society is out to get them. Old journal entry. The closest to home I've ever felt was missing it while I was at war. That's how it felt. I felt cheated. I felt betrayed. Few songs will pull my heartstrings more than a song about a veteran looking for the home they were promised they would return to. But in truth, it's us that have the blinders on, narrowing our perception. That's why Stick Vet is a comic about veteran life in the civilian sector. That's why I call it civilian sector and not home. We were trained to fight in any hostile environment, and civilian sector is just another duty station for a returning veteran. Because we were not trained to come home. Cleansing this aspect of self involves finalizing your military experience. It really, and I've worked with Vietnam veterans on this 55 years after the game, and that really was the step, finalizing the experience. Living in the moment and not living in the past. Deeper still, rather than your honor being based upon what you've done in the past, instead basing it upon how you live now. This requires you to end that stage of your life, to understand what your meaning is now from the service that you did. For me, as I've talked about in the past with the breakdown of the 3 ways you can work on things, this was a journaling exercise that was a few hours every week. It took me a couple seasons, though, not just one. Writing about my meaning from my military experience. I wrote about how I would use those experiences in my new life. I wrote my own obituary to let go of my past self. I wrote about the life my fallen brothers could have had. And then I wrote about the life they would want me to have. That's what did it for me. It was my relationship with Haunt, the ghost of my fallen brother, that got me through this. It was clear he wouldn't want me to come back and be so disconnected from home. I had to get over myself in honor of his sacrifice for me. Returning home is not something that happens when you come back. It's something that happens in your heart when you're ready to let go of the war. You can't hold on to and cherish the new home that you create while still holding on to your home in the war zone of your heart. I created a new home in the lives of my children. They're my home now. And I've become theirs. And I'm responsible for the stability of their American dream. My honor is based in my ability, in my quality as a father to them, and my ability to experience that joy that they bring me every day. I'm no longer a warrior. I'm Stick Dad. And I know my brother would be proud that I found my way home. This is Stick Dad signing off.